Outstanding.
All right, fellas, we ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome. It is just after 5 p.m., Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. Let us welcome to the Douglas County Commissioners Business Meeting this evening. Let us come to order. If everyone will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, turning to the county attorney for certification of the agenda.
Yes, sir. The county attorney's office will review the items on the agenda. You have appropriate jurisdiction over these matters.
Thank you, Counselor. Commissioners, any disclosures for items on this agenda?
I have none, Mr. Chair. Thank you. None for me either.
Nor do I. All right, so let's get into our agenda this evening for the Zebulon Regional Sports Complex. Before we turn it over to staff for the presentation, turning to the board for any comments.
You know, Mr. Chair, I might have a comment or two, and first and foremost, I would love to welcome this entire group tonight. No matter where you're at on this issue, the most important thing to us is hearing from you and getting that level of engagement. We work for the citizens of Douglas County, not the other way around, and you are spending your time here with us. So thank you for that. I want to start with the truth because it matters. Every city and town in Douglas County has unanimously supported Zebulon by resolution. The voters approved the funding, and the public, through surveys, town halls, and hundreds of hours of engagement, told us exactly what they want: protect open space and build places for our kids to play. Thankfully, that's not politics, that's a mandate. And today we do have a choice whether we honor it. Now, Zebulon, named for Zebulon Pike, is about building something worthy of the next generation. What we'll hear tonight is a 46-acre regional sports complex with ice rinks, courts, turf fields, fitness space, where kids across this county, many of whom are here tonight, can step onto a field, into an arena, and know that they belong. Because right now, they don't have enough of that. We've heard from hundreds of parents that are traveling to Lakewood and Aurora and out of state to places like Georgia, Texas, and Florida to get their kids to tournaments instead of playing right here at home. Again, driving across the region, competing for scraps of time and space because we haven't kept up with the needs of our own community. We can fix that tonight, and we can do it the right way. This plan is a $6.5 million a year, no new taxes, no impact to the general fund, and a model where the facility pays for itself with revenue that comes back to the county immediately. In my view, that's disciplined, that's responsible, and exactly how government should work. At the same time, we're doing what we believe the public asks, and I hope we do that tonight: protect open space. And I want to thank all of the amazing community leaders I see here that were part of the original open space sales tax measure and the most recent one that was passed a few years ago. And again, focusing on the fact that we have actually preserved hundreds of acres of open space, not only in and around this area, but about 205 acres right around Wildcat. The impact, an independent analysis from the Metro Denver EDC shows $1.3 billion back into our local economy, thousands of jobs, and a facility that will serve this community for decades. So let's be clear about what this moment is. This is not about anything other than first focusing on the process. We've done the work. We've done the public input, and we'll hear more tonight. We want to hear from all of you, and we've had some great engagement. And focusing on the finances, building a model with zero new taxes and self-sustaining revenue. It's about whether we have the courage to lead. Because there's always going to be voices that may want to slow things down, turn it into politics, or say, not now. But we're not going to stand here, look at our kids, look at our families, look at the clear mandate from the people, and put them on the chopping block for politics. We're going to be on the side of kids, and I hope we stay on the side of kids tonight. I want to be on the side of families who showed up, spoke up, and trusted us to act. And I hope tonight we deliver. No new taxes, no harm to open space, a project that pays for itself, and a generational investment in the future of Douglas County. I hope that's what leadership looks like to you, because that's what it looks like to us. And that's exactly what I hope we do tonight. Chair?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, any comments?
No, I'll keep it brief. I'm looking forward to this staff presentation. I do know, even when I was running for office for this seat, people would come up and say, and this tax passed in 2022 overwhelmingly, more than 87%. What are you doing to kind of, what's your plan to return something for that vote that happened in 2022? So I look forward to the staff presentation tonight. I look forward to hearing from the public. I don't need to talk a lot right now. I'll save my comments probably closer to the end. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I guess the only thing I have to say is I feel like this has been a long process. I remember when we were in this room 2-3 years ago, and we thought we were coming in to talk about the Fairgrounds Master Plan. And then we learned that you wanted to talk about youth sports and youth sports facilities. So the only thing I got to say at this time is I'm so sorry it took us so long to get to this spot. I assure you, we were not idle. There was a lot of work being done, and it's my hope that you see the product of that work by the end of this evening. Let's turn it over to staff for the staff presentation. Looks like first up, Tim Hallmark, Director of, actually that looks like Dan Avery first up. Dan Avery, Deputy County Manager. Please proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will give a brief executive summary and then introduce colleagues and additional speakers. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to start off my remarks by thanking voters for their overwhelming support of Parks, Trails, Historic Resources, and Open Space Sales Tax renewal, with 87% support back in 2022. Its passage will allow new investment in parks and open space to a degree not seen in decades. For example, the county has not added a baseball field, a county-owned baseball field, since construction of Bayou Gulch Regional Park in 2004, nearly 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. Since renewal of the tax, Douglas County solicited parks and open space proposals. We've conducted a citizen survey. We've held 3 town halls, held a stakeholder working group, and solicited specific expressions of interest for partners and contractors on this project. Through the citizen survey, 2 clear priorities emerged: ongoing investment in open space and establishment of new sports fields, complexes, and recreational facilities. New sports investment was supported by 74% of respondents and was the second highest priority for new investment. In the Zebulon project, Douglas County is proposing 3 full-size and 1 practice ice rink, 8 multi-sport courts, an indoor turf field, 4 baseball fields via partnership investment, 2 outdoor multi-purpose fields, and an aquatics facility in collaboration with a partner. Development of public-private partnerships has been key to this project, and partners are anticipated to contribute $34 million in additional investment into this project's establishment. Parks Director Steve Schultz will speak more about those partnership development processes later on in my presentation. The county's partnership with KT Development, who was selected after a competitive process, is designed to deliver a self-sustaining project that can pay for itself without an operating subsidy from the county. Tim Hallmark, Douglas County's Facility Director, and Luke Taylor of KT Development will speak about the selection process, KT's qualifications, and next steps. Douglas County's investment in land in this part of the county began in 2014 when it acquired 288 acres of land for $2.2 million. From that purchase, Douglas County has constructed Waterton Road to improve ingress and egress from the Chatfield Valley, developed the Emergency Vehicle Operations Center for law enforcement training, will soon construct a hangar for its wildfire suppression helicopter, acquired the land for this sports complex, and negotiated for downzoning and preservation of 185 acres of open space for elk migration corridor and community separation buffer from Leviers, as has been encouraged by the Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife. The Zebulon site that is owned by the county contains no areas of environmental surface use restriction, and soils from the one known area of firefighting foam release will be removed by Sterling Ranch at no cost to Douglas County. Partnering with Sterling Ranch on infrastructure development for this site will save the county an estimated $8 million from our earlier estimates. Sean Owens and I will speak later in the presentation about land and infrastructure development topics in greater detail. As has been noted, the county expects revenue generated from this facility to fund operations and repay project financing. Martha Marshall, Budget Director, will talk about the proposed use of certificates of participation, a common municipal financing tool used in both Douglas County and statewide, later in her presentation. Because the facility is expected to fund its operations and financing, Douglas County is proposing no new taxes to support the project and no impact to the general fund. I want to further clarify, in recognition of the broad support for open space in the county, that Douglas County cannot and does not intend to use any portion of the open space sales tax proceeds for this project. Jay Sage from the county's Open Space Advisory Committee is here to speak about the sales tax and its uses in just a moment. Because the facility is expected to fund its operations and financing, Douglas County can also continue to invest in other new projects countywide. After Jay speaks, Amanda Badimlia, Chair of the Parks Advisory Board, will speak about some of the recently approved investments that have been made throughout Highlands Ranch, Lone Tree, Parker, Castle Rock, and Roxborough. We'll also be joined by Mike Bailey from the Highlands Ranch Community Association to talk about the county's investment in Wildcat Open Space. Later with staff, we'll turn to the contract itself, the partnerships, as I've described, financing, and land and infrastructure considerations. For now, I will turn it over to Mr. Sage.
Thank you, Dan. Chairman Jay Sage.
Hello, Commissioners. Hello, Douglas County. I'm retired. Typically, I don't wear a suit. So I had this on 9 months ago, and I was happy when I put it on today. It fit. So typically, I'm wearing my jeans, volunteering for open space, and I encourage you all to look at the website Douglas County Volunteers and invite you this Friday. We're going to be on one of our open space properties, Iron Horse, and we're going to be cutting down invasive and noxious weeds. It's a lot more fun than you think it is. This is a beautiful picture of Lost Canyon Ranch, which is technically in Castle Rock, but the county funded half of that purchase several years ago, and you can see it's a beautiful property. I'm here to talk about and explain some details about the open space program. Our first sales tax was approved in 1994. It is extended in 2022, which we mentioned it was passed by 87%, which according to Trust for Public Lands is a national record. And I see our campaign manager, Mickey Clark, in the crowd. So Mickey, we worked hard together on that. So let's get into the details. There's been some questions about open space money. Where does it go? Well, the sales tax that we have, 28% goes to parks and trails. 20% goes to sharebacks. That's the municipalities in the county gets the shareback. 4% for historic preservation. Now, for open space, 20% goes to a maintenance account fund. 28% goes to an acquisition fund. And once that money from the sales tax that's been generated is in the open space fund, it cannot leave that fund. It will not be used for parks. In summary, we have over 100 miles of trails for open space in Douglas County. We have 17 trailheads, so I encourage you to go online, see where those trailheads are, and enjoy what we have in nature. And when we like to say in open space that conserving nature and protecting wildlife makes Douglas County a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Amanda, would you like to make some remarks about recent county investments? There's several slides that you can transition to. Put a slide for each one.
Okay, thank you. All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Amanda Badimlia, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Parks Advisory Board as the chair. Over the last 18 months, the Parks Advisory Board has reviewed 11 different projects. Some we advanced forward and others we did not. Always with one goal in mind, making sure we were aligning with the needs of Douglas County residents and being responsible stewards of the parks tax. What we continue to hear consistently from families in Parker, Castle Rock, and Highlands Ranch is this: we do not have enough youth sports facilities. This need across Douglas County is impacting real families. Kids are being turned away from leagues, and teams are even being pushed outside of Douglas County to find space. Like my son's soccer team, whose entire team lives within Douglas County, but they practice outside of Douglas County. And in some cases, kids are even choosing not to play sports at all because there just simply isn't room for them. This also comes from AYL, Raptors, and Hawks, who have shared this information. So when we look at the projects that we've approved in 2025, we see a clear pattern of success. One of the first projects on the screen is Salisbury Regional Park, just over 90 acres. This was funded with $7.5 million investment, and this is over in the Parker area. The next one is High Note. High Note Regional Park is around 80 acres with a $7.8 million investment. It's a really pretty area over there, and it's in the Lone Tree area. The next one is the partnership with Gold Crown Fieldhouse in Castle Rock for $7.5 million, as well as a $3.8 million trailhead for trail improvements with McCanta Park. McCanta Park, as you know, is 450 acres of open space. Finally, $450,000 for trailhead improvements at the Highline Canal Trail Origin. This part is about 20 miles within Douglas County that connects with a total of 71 trail line throughout that, throughout actually multiple counties. Okay, finally, countywide investments. We have $3.5 million for trail improvement in the Wildcat open space, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. It is 202 acres that Douglas County was able to give over to HRCA, and then we've partnered with them for some of that trail improvement. All right, so phase one, is this mine? Sorry, okay, so let me go back. All right, so these regional park projects are similar in size and scope to what is being proposed with Zebulon. They reflect thoughtful, responsible use of the parks tax that 87%, as has been said many times, of our residents supported. We've also learned important lessons along the way. The Wildcat proposal in Highlands Ranch that former Commissioner Thomas proposed was a great concept for regional park and youth sports facilities, but the communities made it clear that it was in the wrong location. So that 200 acres was donated, as I said, to HRCA and will remain open space. Zebulon brings a similar 90-acre regional footprint that many of these other countywide regional parks have as well, as far as High Note being 80 acres and Salisbury being 91. This being on the west side of Douglas County makes a great location so that there's regional parks in every district. There's also, it requires no new land purchase. It's a well-positioned in the county, and there's several of the same partnerships that we're looking to invest in the Wildcat concept are going to partner with the county for Zebulon. All of these parks projects are helping address the shortage of athletic facilities in Douglas County. But at the same time, projects like McCanta Regional Park with over 400 acres are meeting other critical needs of trails and open space. Together, these projects show a balance, active recreation and passive space. Both are needed and both matter. So as the Parks Advisory Board, we take seriously the responsibility that comes with the park tax that voters made clear. They want to invest in their community through parks and trails. And for all these projects, and while 2025 has been a strong year for regional park growth, the demand is still greater than what we can currently provide. Zebulon is not the final answer, but it is a necessary step forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda. And Mike Bailey of the Highlands Ranch Community Association also asked to say a few words.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for having me here today. Thank you for the opportunity and for your continued leadership in shaping the future of Douglas County. HRCA recognizes that the proposed Zebulon project is a significant and complex initiative. It brings together expanded recreational opportunities, phased development, and potential long-term benefits for a growing Douglas County. We appreciate the effort to explore solutions that support both recreation and regional vitality. We believe it is important to ground this conversation in community input. During the Wildcat Regional Park process, the feedback from residents was clear and strongly expressed. There was a demonstrated need and a desire for a sports field and complex alongside a shared understanding that the Wildcat location itself was not the right fit, often described as the right idea, wrong location. That perspective remains an important part of this discussion today. We appreciate the Commission's commitment to public engagement during that process and we appreciate the opportunity to provide input on this project as Zebulon moves forward, ensuring that the residents' voices are heard and lead to broadly supported outcomes. We also recognize that projects of this scale naturally raise important questions, including infrastructure and overall community impact. These are important factors that warrant a balanced evaluation, and tonight's meeting is part of that process. Our delegate body encourages the adoption of a fee structure that is fair and consistent with all Douglas County residents, such as was under consideration during the Wildcat conveyance. We believe it is important that access reflects a shared benefit for all Douglas County residents. In closing, we support the community-driven process. We appreciate your leadership and your willingness to engage with residents as you consider the best path forward for Douglas County.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Thanks to Mike. The next portion of the presentation, we'll get into the agenda items and the topics you see here. I'll turn it over to Tim Hallmark for review of the Phase 1 contract with KT.
Okay, and as he comes to the mic, just big thank you. Mike I lost you already. Oh, in the back there. Highlands Ranch Community Association, such great work, such great partners with the county, and thank you just for all you do for the people of Highlands Ranch. I know it's a lot of work, and the people of Highlands Ranch owe you a great deal of gratitude. And also thank you, Amanda, with the Parks Advisory Board. Thank you for the hard work you and your whole board puts in, as also Jay, for the hard work that you and your Open Space Advisory Board do. You both play very important roles in our county, and I thank you for your volunteerism.
All right, Mr. Hallmark.
Good evening, Commissioners. What we're bringing before you tonight is the Phase 1 contract for programming and schematic design for Zebulon. Project components: 3 full-size hockey rinks, a practice rink, hard court space, indoor turf facility, fitness and lifestyle facility, dining, recreation, outdoor quad of baseball fields, and all supporting amenities needed to support the facility. Really what we've done going through the public-private partnership is to make sure we deliver a self-sustaining project. That first phase is really critical for us, and that's where we refine the use and the partner mix and start identifying truly what Zebulon needs to be. What are the needs, make sure we design a facility that fits those needs. Completely anticipate the facility being able to be fully self-supporting with that programming to be able to support the investment that Douglas County is making into this project, with no use of open space funds, no impact to our general fund. We started this process out September of 2025 by doing an RFQP, a request for qualifications and proposals. Out of that, we received 10 responses. Out of those 10 responses, we had 4 firms that met the mandatory requirements of the proposal. We did those interviews and quickly came to determine that we had 1 respondent that was able to deliver that turnkey package we were looking for to support and actually be able to program, make a design based off of that programming, be able to construct a facility, and had the background construct in similar facilities. And then also be able to stay on board and operate and manage and maintain this facility into the future. And all along with being the lowest bidder out of all of the successful contributors. We landed with we're at a $65 million guaranteed maximum price for this project, for everything that would be provided in that scope. Phase 1, as I said earlier, that 1A is like the most important piece to get this kicked off and make sure that we have a successful project. A feasibility analysis, program development, partnerships, which will lead us to a conceptual design. Then we get into Phase 1B, where we actually get into a schematic design and start identifying the cost of what the programming has driven us to need. Future phases that will come with this will be a Phase 2 actual construction design, where we develop our construction documents. Phase 3 being the actual construction services. That final phase, we open the doors and start operating this wonderful facility for Douglas County. We have a estimated project schedule With the board's approval tonight, we'll be kicking off immediately next week and start having those conversations with KT. Anticipate those taking in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 weeks. Then we'll move into a design piece that'll carry us probably through around October of this year, which then we'll immediately start with our actual construction of the project. We anticipate the project being 100% complete by December of 2028. I'm happy to ask Luke Taylor with KT Development to come up and tell us a little bit about some of the projects he's done in the past that are very, very similar, and some of his operating ideas and how we're going to make this thing a winner for Douglas County.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Mr. Taylor.
Commissioners, thank you for having me here. Oh, my little number there. Thank you, Douglas County residents. We look forward to delivering the Zebulon vision that we've all spent a lot of time on over the last year and a half, putting it together. I'm Luke Taylor with KT Development. I've been doing this for about 20 years. We have developed 4 different properties here in Colorado. We did the sports stable up in Superior. We've got a new one that we're doing out in Grand Junction to redevelop the riverfront out there. Just finished up a project in Greenwich, Connecticut, so we do stuff outside of the state as well. But I live here in Colorado and have lived here for 30 years, so this is a real natural, easy one for us to do. We've done all of the pieces that are in what we're proposing here for Zebulon: turf fields, courts, ice rinks, a lot of ice rinks out there, restaurants, and then the retail that goes around that. This is a shot right here of a project we did in Overland Park, Kansas. So it's called the Blue Hawk Sports Park, which is kind of, if you guys are familiar with Kansas City, kind of southwest corner of that area. It's about 300,000 square foot facility that has all of these same components that Zebulon will as well. For those of you who do live here and have kids that play sports, I'm sure you guys have probably been to the sports stable. We opened that in 2017. It's been running for 10 years right now, and it's going strong. Everything is full. That's why we were able to make kind of this commitment that this is something that we can build that will not cost the county any additional dollars to operate down the road, and in fact return dollars to the county. So we've done this before. We've done it multiple times, and we have a lot of really great ideas to make this one even better than what we've done before. Our first phase for this will be to essentially talk to any and everyone who has some interest to be part of this. I met with my team earlier last week, and we have about 120 different groups that are on our list right now. So if you're in the audience and you'd like to be talked to, just make sure that you're on our list. Please come up and see me or any of the folks in the third row there on the right. They will be happy to get your information and take it down, because we do want to talk to you. This is that's the sports stable right there. This is the one I was talking about in Greenwich. Very different model. You have to take down buildings in order to build anything out there. So here we got a nice, beautiful canvas and a lot of space around it, which you don't have there. So look forward to really working with Douglas County and Tim and the rest of the team here and deliver something that you guys can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke.
I don't have anything else to add. Thank you, Commissioners.
Let's go ahead and pause at this time. Any questions from the board for staff on this segment from Mr. Hallmark?
You know, I do have a question, and hate to have Luke already sit down. I might ask you to go back to the podium if you would. Sorry about that. Sorry about the long walk, but no, appreciate all the years of experience that you bring to this. I think, what's important to the county is cost savings and avoiding paying that quote-unquote dumb tax. When you're doing something for the first time, you end up maybe having some challenges. You've shared with us that you've done this in multiple locations with a lot of success. How can you cut costs and make sure that we're doing this the most efficiently?
Well, when I first started this in 2006, I was a parent that was interested in this and built a facility didn't know what I was doing, made a lot of mistakes. I think you guys, whoever's been to the ice ranch knows the viewing area is not ideal there, and that was a, based off of an adult league conversation. Didn't realize that youth parents like to come and watch games, because we didn't really have a lot of people come and watch us play. So that was like an afterthought. So we've gotten better at it over time, but I would probably say that the best part of it is because we operate these facilities and we have to live with what we did in terms of whether it's a retrofit, whether it's putting black iron in the dump tank that causes pinhole leaks, and you have to replace a whole bunch of systems because you just didn't know any better. That would be, that's the dump tax that you're talking about. We've paid the dump tax over the years, and I can say that each time we do this, we get a little bit better a little bit closer to, not having any tax. There's always a few taxes that you're still paying, but for the most part, we've gotten a lot better at doing that. And then, then it kind of comes down to the operation side of things, right? These facilities have high overhead costs. You're paying staff, you're paying a lot of utilities to, keep these things operational. So your break-even number is fairly high. And so you really, to take advantage of that, you have to fill these up. And these things need to be able to run as close to 24 hours a day as you possibly can, with the goal to be able to do that. Most of our facilities open at 5 a.m. and close at 2 a.m. We close for 4 holidays, so Christmas, maybe 4th of July, but for the most part, it's pretty much a 365, kind of deal. So you have a lot of employees, you have a lot of staff that are running in order to be able to do that, and you need to be able to bring in customers that can utilize that. So we've kind of figured out how to do that, and do that with multiple sports. We've also built certain sports clubs, so we've operated sports clubs in 9 different sports, so we really understand not only how the facilities work, but how the teams need to use them, how the parents, what they look for when they pick a spot. And, the opportunity to do this here in Douglas County, here in Colorado, I believe we can turn this into something that will be on the national map, and people will be coming in here to Douglas County to, instead of flying to Georgia or Florida, they're going to be coming to play here for baseball tournaments or hockey tournaments or basketball tournaments. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it's really trial and error and having to live with the results.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
Commissioner.
Thank you. And my question was along those same lines, which was going to be, how can you essentially promise to make this self-sustaining, or how confident are you in that? And I think you already answered that a bit, so I'll go to a different question, which is the contract has in a guaranteed maximum price of $65 million for the construction, get it up and running, get sports in there, get kids in there as soon as possible. How confident are you that you're able to stay within that $65 million, which is in the contract?
100%. So no, we will stay within that. Like I said, when you pay the dump tax, you learn what to do and what not to do, what pencils, what doesn't pencil. We've also done this a number of times, but that we've copyrighted some of our architectural plans that we'll be able to use for this. We have some fairly good, we're fairly turnkey in terms of being able to provide civil and the GC services. We're wholesalers for Chief and American Metal Buildings, so we can buy that stuff at cost, or not at cost, but at a wholesale rate for that. So I have no question in my mind that we can deliver that for that price.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Luke. I don't know. I mean, we've talked to you extensively. I don't think I have any lingering questions for you. I appreciate your perspective that you're bringing to this project.
Thank you.
Mr. Hallmark, anything more?
No, sir. Anything I can answer for the commissioners?
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Hallmark? All right, Tim. Looks like you're off the hook. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Dan, who do we have up next?
We'll hear from Steve Schultz, Parks and Recreation Director, to talk about the partnership identification process.
All right. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Commissioners. In Douglas County, Parks and Recreation is a team sport. Partnerships and key stakeholders have always been central to the county's approach to Parks and Recreation, and Zebulon is no different. In the spirit of cooperation, on August 15th, 2025, Douglas County put out a call for interested groups to submit requests for expression of interest. Our goal was simple. It was to find and engage with any group that could see themselves as a potential part of the Zebulon project. As a result of this process, many groups began reaching out to signal their interest in various areas of the project, from construction to fixtures to programming, and even investment in the project. Throughout the process, it became clear that programming would transform Zebulon from a building to a place that matters, a place that makes a regional impact, promotes community health and well-being, provides a place for kids to grow, and a place both iconic and responsibly self-sustaining, a place that makes Douglas County an even better place today than it was yesterday. The exciting news is during this process, not only have we found a growing list of interested groups, but we've also have 2 groups that have emerged with a combined investment of $34 million to the project. That's additional facilities that are going to be provided here, and these partner groups have offered to bring them forward. So while that interest list continues to grow, here to introduce themselves and their programs this evening are just a few of the partners and the key stakeholders, just a few, because the list at 120, we didn't get them all, but just a couple of them, indicated that they want to help make Zebulon a place that matters. So with that, I would like to invite up Mark Holzmer with Slammers Baseball.
Thanks, Steve. Mr. Holzmer.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Mark Holzmer. I'm the president of Slammers Baseball. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening regarding the Zebulon project and our involvement. I want to be very clear, this project is not just about baseball. It's about meeting a real and growing need in Douglas County. As a Colorado native and Douglas County resident, I've spent over 22 years coaching youth baseball in this state. During that time, I've watched families spend countless weekends traveling long distances to Aurora, Arvada, Erie, Lakewood, Brighton, Boulder, and Fort Collins simply because we do not have enough fields close to home. This is not a convenience issue, it's a capacity issue. Families in Douglas County are asking for local opportunities. Today, Slammers serves roughly 1,500 players across the country, across the state, in our Centennial and Broomfield facilities. And more than 60% of our Centennial families live in Douglas County. This is a clear indication of both demand and need within this community. The Zebulon project is an opportunity to solve that problem. Our plan has developed 4 multi-purpose turf fields that will support the youth and high school athletes from February through October. These fields will not only serve local families, but also bring teams from across Colorado and beyond into Douglas County. This means increased activity, increased visibility, positive economic impact for this region. There has been some misinformation suggesting that these fields will only be used by the Slammers teams. That's simply not true. For this project to succeed, it must and will serve the broader baseball and youth sports community. Outside teams, tournaments, and events are essential to its long-term sustainability. Slammers is prepared to make a significant private financial investment into this project. We are committed to building a high-quality, state-of-the-art facility that will provide safe, accessible, and well-maintained fields for the children and families of Douglas County. At its core, this is about giving our community what it clearly has been asking for: more access, less travel, better facilities, and more opportunities for our kids. This is a responsible investment in youth, families, and the future of Douglas County. We respectfully ask for your support and approval of the Zebulon project. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
All right. Thanks so much, Mark. Steve.
Thank you.
Up next, Commissioners, we've got Coach Jim Bocci from Highlands Ranch Aquatics and Colorado Aquatics Institute.
Mr. Bocci.
Thank you, Commissioners, for inviting me here to speak. I appreciate your time. My name is Jim Bocci. I'm the head coach from Highlands Ranch Aquatics Club. We were founded in 1998, and we're the largest USA swimming club based in Douglas County. However, like Slammers baseball and what we heard about for soccer, there's a dilemma. We struggle with space. We host the 13 and over state championship in Thornton every year and routinely send our children outside the county for training and competition opportunities. Furthermore, not one school in Douglas County includes an aquatic facility. The need for an Olympic-sized pool is immense for our children, but it goes beyond our competitive youth sports and national level events. This facility will support enhanced programming for high school sports and education opportunities, Special Olympics, Paralympics, triathletes, young and old, water polo, learn to swim programming, and aquatic therapy. We've worked with Councilman Hunsaker, the leading aquatics programming and facility design firms in the country, to develop a self-sustaining business plan. We've also identified an opportunity to bring one of the prior USA Swimming Olympic team trials pools to Douglas County. So in the swimming world, people recognize our logo, Highlands Ranch Aquatics, they get it. But beyond that, maybe not so much. Everyone recognizes the Olympic trials rings, or the Olympic rings. We're gonna bring that here. It is a unique opportunity. We're looking to fund this project, and then we'll operate and have it self-sustaining, so it won't cost Douglas County a dime. That's all I have. Thank you, I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you, Coach, appreciate it. All right, Steve, who's up?
Up next is Brooke Whiffleaf with Aces in Okanagan. It's not Brooke.
Yeah, I think we met Brooke before. You don't look like Brooke. Sir, please come forward, give us your name. We know who you're from, and please proceed.
Absolutely. My name is John Melkonian. I'm here representing ACES Sports Academy, but I'm also a Douglas County resident. I've lived here for 34 years. I raised my children here. My kids all went to Douglas County schools. I had the honor of serving as a school principal for this district from 1990 to 2012 in 3 different schools in this area. And I've had now the pleasure in my semi-retirement years of serving as assistant principal at ACES Sports Academy along with Carrie Roberts, our head of school. And we are a school that focuses on serving student athletes in grades 3 through 8. We primarily work with youth hockey, but we're interested in expanding our offerings and to serve student athletes in other sports as well. But I'm just here tonight to strongly support this Zebulon Sports complex. And I want to tell you why it matters, not just on paper, but really in the lives of kids. You know that the Front Range area is really dealing with a genuine ice shortage. And our student athletes currently rely on too few facilities, and the demand for ice times across youth programs far outpaces what's available. Our families, not only just at ACES, but so many of the other programs are driving hours, skating at odd hours, and many kids who want to play simply can't find a path. And a facility like Zebulon changes that equation. And of course, it's not just about hockey. This is multi-youth and sports. I do want to say that I got into the scope of public education many years ago. I've been in it 30 years to help kids and young adults develop into healthy, thriving adults. And one of the ways that happens, and I can tell you as a school principal and as a teacher for many years, is when kids are involved in activities outside of just academics, whether it be arts and music and things or sports. They end up having such high level of opportunity to thrive. And I believe that sports builds character. You know, we could sit back, and I've had many of my colleagues and friends lament the fact that kids are growing up in a world with so many challenges that we don't even recognize. But this is something we can do some things about it. And giving kids opportunities to be involved in sports help our students develop character. Traits such as responsibility and respect and self-discipline and perseverance and grit and resilience and compassion and empathy. I've watched kids transform by being involved in team sports, by the discipline of daily practice and team accountability and collaboration. And I believe that every young person deserves those kinds of opportunities. And right now, we don't have enough space to give it to them. So I believe that Zebulon and ACES and Brook believe that Zebulon is exactly the kind of investment Douglas County families need. And I urge you to all move forward with this project. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Commissioners, next up is Jordan Petrus with TPH Academy.
All right, Jordan, go ahead.
Oops. Sorry. That's all right. Skipped ahead. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to come today. This is super exciting news, and to hear the plans to bring more youth sports to Douglas County, I think is really exciting. You know, youth sports gave me an opportunity to get higher education, to pursue athletics as a career, to travel the world, to meet my wife and start a family, and brought me back here in 2019 to start TPH Academy. Youth sports has given a lot to me, to the point of our colleague here at ACES. Sports does so much for our youth, for the next generation. And at TPH, our mission is to be the world leader in developing impact players both in and beyond the game. And we believe that Zebulon is an opportunity to do that. In TPH, we started an academy here in 2019. We serve nearly 70 youth athletes from different sports. Hockey is our main sport. We have figure skaters, lacrosse players. We have had baseball players in the past. And the opportunity to work with athletes in both academics and sports is a really cool opportunity. And you know, thinking about hockey specifically in Colorado, so there's 19,000 registered players in Colorado, 46 facilities that house hockey rinks. This gives us a ratio of approximately one facility to every 404 youth athletes or youth hockey players in our state. Colorado currently ranks 9th in player registrations in states with NHL teams in the United States. And out of the big 4 NHL markets, Minnesota, Michigan, New York, and Massachusetts, the average facility to player ratio is approximately 1 to 250. So nearly half as many, the ratio in Colorado is nearly half as many of those in big NHL markets. So what's the impact of this? I think the impact of this is less opportunity for players to play. There's, because of less opportunity, less supply, you've got poor ice times. There's further driving distances, as we've heard from across the Colorado and the Denver metro area. And low supply equals high costs. It's economics. So I think the Zebulon project provides an opportunity for, and the partnership approach that you guys are using. It's really interesting, actually, in some of our locations. We've got 20+ locations nationwide. We operate in 3 different countries. We're the nation's, or North America's largest hockey service provider. And we actually operate and partner in some facilities that KT has developed, like that Blue Hawk facility in Kansas City. So there's some cool synergies there. But I think this, partnering with Zebulon and bringing this to Douglas County provides us the opportunity to provide sustainable solutions to Douglas County taxpayers, for opportunities for youth and residents to take advantage of a facility like this. And also, Luke mentioned the jobs. I think it's also an opportunity to create job creation in the district. So we're excited to potentially partner with Douglas County in developing those impact players both in and beyond the game, and we're excited to see this project move forward. So thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Actually, Jordan, was it? If I could ask you a question. And I thought of asking the previous speaker, the previous partner on the project as well, but I'll just ask you since you're here. So I've heard from adult league players get off the ice 1:30 in the morning. But for a youth, one of the kids in Douglas County, for their families, what does an ice shortage mean for them? I doubt a kid's out on the ice at 1 a.m., but what is it like for them?
Well, I think what the lack of ice rinks, what it does is it either pushes their ice times to later in the day. So if you've got adults playing at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, that means that youth are playing later into night, so that creates later bedtimes. I think the other thing that we've seen across all associations, and it's honestly a common complaint that people have, is they have to share ice. So you'll have 2-3 teams, 40, 60 players sharing one sheet of ice at a time. So, you know, as you can imagine, 60 players on a 100 by, or an 200 by 85 sheet of ice can be pretty congested, and that's not including coaches as well. So providing that would give more opportunities for kids to get true development on the ice, and it creates a better experience as well.
Okay, I heard from a Valor family where they drive, I mean, they're driving an extra hour and a half each way every day so that their kid can have the opportunity. Is that common?
Oh my gosh, yeah. People drive from all over the state to find ice, to find facilities. I think you'll find some parents here today that will share that. In the Highlands Ranch, Douglas County area is a highly populated area for youth athletes. You know, that have to drive quite far. So just again, providing, you know, in other NHL markets, the ratio is almost twice as good as it is here. And Colorado's home to Avalanche's won Stanley Cups, 3 Division I college teams, and we're 9th in the country in registered players. So I think there's certainly the demand, and what this could also do is provide opportunities for future growth, not only in youth hockey, but youth sports in general, which would be fantastic. So,
thank you, sir.
Okay. Commissioner, any questions for Jordan?
No additional questions at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it.
And Commissioner's final example of the night is Chris Phelan with Colorado Rugby.
All right, Mr. Phelan.
Esteemed members of the board, my name is Chris Phelan, and I'm here today representing Rugby Colorado. I'm going to go off script for a little bit because I grew up playing ice hockey, and I just want to admit and confirm that you can drive well over an hour to get ice time. It happened several times for me, and I got to be honest, when I was a junior in high school, I actually fell asleep at the wheel after coming home from ice hockey practice from an hour away, and drove into the median, was fine, but had a pretty bad accident. So just as an example of why we don't want our kids driving so far away. The other thing is I'm an alpine ski racing coach for Team Summit, and if we could get a mountain and just put it right at Zebulon and have it right there, that'd be much better for me. All right, now I'll get back on script for you. Rugby Colorado is the governing body for youth and high school rugby in the state of Colorado. Our staff, board members, and independent committee members work tirelessly to provide opportunities for athletes of all ages and skill levels. We are committed to fostering a community that grows the sport of rugby in Colorado through innovative programming, team support, and community engagement. And we aim to inspire and develop young rugby players and promote core rugby values. 1 second. I realize why I'm having trouble here. In my glasses. Having a hard time reading it. There we go. Such as respect, community, and passion. We currently serve over 2,500 active players from ages 6 through 19, and we host hundreds of rugby matches in the spring, summer, and fall. Colorado is the second highest per capita participation rate for rugby, and Glendale, Colorado is the headquarters for USA Rugby and home to both our women's and men's national teams. In addition, the U.S. will host the 2031 Men's Rugby World Cup and the 2033 Women's Rugby World Cup. And Colorado is one of the potential host sites. That being stated, rugby in Colorado is challenged by various factors, not the least of which is access to playing fields, or pitches as we call them. Rugby Colorado is constantly looking for new opportunities to utilize multi-use fields, and we are considering options for dedicated rugby pitches, which could be used for other sports when our rugby teams are not using them. Based on the field restraints that we are currently experiencing, we are enthused about the opportunity for new playing surfaces that the Zebulon Sports Complex could provide. We are eager to learn more about the project and explore partnership opportunities, and we look forward to developing and sustaining a mutually beneficial long-term relationship with the county, which could help us grow rugby in Colorado exponentially over the next 5 years before the World Cup in 2031. Thank you for your time and attention.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Appreciate it.
That concludes this section. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Any questions for Steve and his segment, gentlemen?
You know, this has been a lot of years of meetings and engagement, a lot of work sessions, a lot of conversations. So just want to thank you and your team for the great work and putting a fine point on all these details. I'll reserve questions following citizen comment.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner? All right, Steve, you're off the hook too.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Dan, who do we have next?
For our next section, we'll hear from Martha Marshall. She's taking a short reprieve from her vacation to be here remotely with us. We also have Stacy Mast from Stiefel Public Finance if there's questions of her.
All right, thank you. Martha, when you are ready.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am ready to go. So staff is proposing issuing certificates of participation for $100 million for the next 30 years. That breaks out into $65 million for design and construction, $12 million for infrastructure and wet utilities like water, and $15 million for dry utilities, electric, gas, fiber, sort of thing, and then $8 million for contingencies. The COPs are a form of lease purchase financing that are tax exempt. Tax exempt is important because it lowers our rate of borrowing by 1.5% to 2%. The COPs will need to be collateralized by equivalently valued assets or asset, and that has not been finalized at that time. We'll have that information when we have the authorizing resolution later on. So COPs are a very common form of financing in Colorado. And my next slide will show some of the what our local jurisdictions have done. So we are planning on issuing the COPs by mid-July. There will be an additional public meeting to go ahead and adopt that authorizing resolution. And as we've indicated that there will be no new taxes or increases in taxes to fund this project. So here are some examples of how local jurisdictions and some a little bit farther in Colorado are using their COPs. So the town of Castle Rock last year went ahead and issued COPs for $81 million for the Brickyard. That's across the highway. And then a couple years ago, City of Lone Tree did $50 million for their public safety complex and for High Note. Town of Parker a couple years ago did almost $45 million for their town hall and public safety facility. Larimer County, $110 million for their youth ice complex and arena renovations last year. The city and county of Broomfield, $90 million this year for a public safety complex. And the city of Boulder last year went ahead and did almost $98 million for city office space. And we have the town of Erie, $51 million for subsurface mining mitigation to support commercial and residential development up there. And then the city of Aurora went ahead and issued $26 million last year for animal shelters. So you can see locally it's quite an active tool that we use to go ahead and finance these bigger projects. So on the next slide, we can go ahead and talk about kind of the sources of repayment. So the annual lease payment will come from the Zebulon operating profit. While we're up and running, if we need a secondary source for that, that is, the secondary source will be the parks and trails portion of the parks and open space sales and use tax proceeds. We also have available conservation trust funds, which is the Colorado lottery proceeds that we receive, and multiple people have said, there will be no general fund proceeds that go towards this project, and definitely there will be no open space sales and use tax proceeds that go to this project. So then flipping to the next slide. So in May of 2025, the Metro Denver Economic Development Council did an analysis on Zebulon. And what they anticipated is that Zebulon will generate almost 14 million of financial impact to Douglas County through sales and property tax receipts over the next 10 years. Then annually, it is anticipated that it will generate 193 million of direct and indirect economic activity. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Questions for Martha from the board?
Yeah, so Martha, like most things we do, whether it's the biochar facility, the Helitac team, investing in public safety, all of that is focused on keeping quality of life first for the citizens of our county and ensuring that their home values continue to go up. I know we're one of only 2 counties out of 64 that saw net migration in, and that certainly has led to an increase in demand. With this particular project, how quickly do you think we'll see Zebulon generating revenue for repayment?
Well, considering that we are anticipating using the profits from it, and if we're going to open it in, is that December of 28? So we'll start seeing profits in 29.
Okay, thank you.
So that's where the secondary funding sources will need to be used.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, any questions for the Budget Director? All right, I have no questions, Martha.
Thank you. I believe Sean Owens is up next.
Thank you, Commissioners. Our next section touches on land, environmental, and infrastructure investment issues. Sean Owens is also available online. I'll touch on a couple of slides first and then turn it over to Sean. As I mentioned in my introductory remarks, Douglas County's investment in land in this area started with our $2.2 million purchase of 288 acres back in 2014. And from that original land acquisition, we've been able to accomplish all of the items you see on this slide: construction of the Emergency Vehicle Operations Center, soon to be a Helitac hangar, Waterton Road, which provides egress and ingress from the Chatfield Valley. We've preserved, in cooperation with Sterling Ranch, 185 acres of open space for elk migration. That was preservation and downzoning of that open space was specifically a request of Colorado Parks and Wildlife through the rezoning for the surrounding development, and then securing the land, 93 acres for the sports complex use. As the board knows, this site does have an environmental history. The DuPont Corporation used it for the development of dynamite for a number of years, starting in the 1910s. The site that Douglas County has acquired contains no surface land use restrictions regarding how we can use the property. There is one area of known firefighting foam release. That area is to be removed entirely by Sterling Ranch at Sterling Ranch's cost in cooperation with CDPHE. They'll go through a process of defining the area of the PFAS exposure. They'll dig up the soil and remove it all together. Additionally, while we don't foresee any possibility of, we don't foresee any other environmental issues arising, if something does come up, Douglas County is additionally insured on a $10 million pollution insurance policy. If that policy comes to be initiated, Sterling Ranch would pay the deductible on that coverage. Sean, are you available to talk about the infrastructure funding agreement?
Absolutely. I've worked out in this valley since 2013. I was part of the original land purchase and the alignment study for Waterton Road, which we called the Southern Connector forever until it was named Waterton Road. But yes, the agreement, the infrastructure agreement that we're looking at is $12 billion for grading water, sewer, sanitary sewer, detention, and it's going to be structured as reimbursement. So the county pays it back as certain pieces of the phases of the infrastructure are completed. When we originally were looking at cost estimates on this ourselves, if we bid it ourselves, we were pushing about $20 million. And so we partnered with Sterling Ranch that has contractors like Monk's Construction and Three Sons to be able to do the overlot grading and the water and sewer costs at a much more economical value than if we bid it outright. So as Sterling Ranch operates, Sterling Ranch will do the construction, we'll do owner oversight and run it like a capital project as we verify cost and just pay for verified costs with no markup, no. A lot of times you get into these deals and there's markup for profit, and that was one thing about this agreement, that it didn't include any markup for any kind of profit on this. So these agreements are done all the time, and I think it's a great value for the county.
All right, Sean, thanks so much. Commissioners, any questions for Sean?
No real additional questions other than I wanted to confirm with both Dan and Sean. So from an environmental standpoint, there are no areas of unrestricted use.
The area that the county has acquired has no land use restrictions imposed by CDPHE. CDPHE would allow this site to be used for residential, for commercial, for light industrial.
Okay. And then for the public that is here and online, we all know CDPHE, but do you want to explain what that is?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. CDPHE, that is the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. They are the regulatory body when it comes to sites like this.
And they have provided their seal of approval.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right.
The other thing to mention on that, Dan, is that CDPHE will be involved with the construction while we go through the construction and help us monitor to make sure nothing shows up. And that happens on all kinds of property like this. And so that partnership with them and having them with us while we do this construction is a great partnership.
That's correct. Douglas County and its contractors will follow the materials management plan that has been established for this property. And in implementing that plan, we'll partner with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment each step of the way.
All right, very good. Any further questions? Dan, please proceed.
This slide shows the infrastructure that will be constructed with this initial phase. Some of the work will include grading at our future Helitac site. We'll bring water and wastewater lines over from Sterling Ranch to serve this development, and we will grade the areas shown in light blue, shown in kind of a grayish color on your screen there, for future vertical construction. These improvements were reviewed by the Planning Commission on February 2nd under Land Use Review Project LE 2025-023. Here's a delineation of the grading plan. You can see the north is to the right in this image. You can see the detention pond at the far east portion of the site, grading for the Helitac future roadway connecting Moore Road to Waterton, and the Zebulon parcel itself, and then water and wastewater lines as previously described. Sterling Ranch will be making $145 million in regional infrastructure investments in this area over time, and the $12 million will comprise the county's sole responsibility as it relates to water, wastewater, and grading and detention improvements. These costs identified here are not the county's responsibility. Sean, do you want to talk about this slide? The anticipated cost of improving this site compared to other potential alternatives?
Absolutely. With any project that the county takes, staff is kind of tasked with evaluating all options. It's almost close to a NEPA process. It's no different than we did the alignment study for Waterton Road from Moore Road to Airport Road. And so we always ask questions. Is there other land available in the county for a project like this? And so both Tim Hallmark and I looked around with our connections and said, all right, is there anything 50 acres or more that could be pad ready for a site like Zebulon, a project like Zebulon? And really there was nothing else available. Canyons, we looked in the canyons, they weren't interested in a 50-acre site. They had a 5 to 13 acre park site, but they didn't want to expand that. And then Lone Tree is a very expensive area to buy land, and most of their parcels are not big enough for Zebulon. Sterling Ranch, even other areas in Sterling Ranch, just the site size would be complicated. So being able to partner with them on the land that the county owned and the land that they bought from the DuPont parcel to make this site work was probably the best value we could find. So we always we're tasked with looking at options. And so we really did kind of dig into the site prep cost of $275,000 to $400,000 an acre versus other areas and what land would cost you. So as far as value goes, we couldn't find any more of a better value of land.
So this concludes staff's substantive presentation. The 4 agenda items that are before you are shown on this slide. I'll touch on each one briefly. The first is the KT contract in the amount of $2.7 million for programming and schematic design. Staff recommends approval of that contract as presented. Item 2B is the infrastructure acquisition agreement in the amount of $12 million for the infrastructure that we've just discussed. And again, staff recommends approval of that item. Item 2C is an agreement with Stiefel to act as the county's financial advisor through the issuance of COPs, providing the services you see on the screen for a flat fee of $135,500. And staff recommends, again, approval of that item. And finally, agenda item 2D, which is a resolution which upon adoption would allow the county to reimburse costs that it incurs now for this project from proceeds of that certificate of participation. And again, staff recommends approval of that item. This concludes staff's presentation. Happy to take questions of you, questions of staff. Otherwise, we can turn it to public comment if the board is inclined.
All right, thanks, Dan. Turning back to the commissioners, any questions for staff on anything in this presentation, to include if we do need to call somebody back up who had spoken during the staff presentation?
Thank you, Chair. Great presentation. I'm going to reserve my comments following citizen comment.
I'll reserve my comments as well, although on one of those slides just recently you talked about area infrastructure improvements, and it just had a bunch of acronyms in there. I know one was EVOC, Helitack. Could you just describe kind of what those are for the layman who doesn't work every day at the EVOC?
Thank you, Commissioner. The EVOC is the Emergency Vehicle Operations Center. That is a training facility for our law enforcement officers. And we have recently been informed by the sheriff that some of the training that our deputies partook in at that facility was put to use recently in a life-saving maneuver for those deputies. So that's been a worthwhile facility. And the Helitack the Helitack hangar is a hangar facility for the county's fire suppression helicopter and the crew, the Helitack crew that uses that helicopter in the event of a wildfire.
All right, any further questions for staff, guys? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and start opening up public comment. Public comment will open up at this time. We will take public comment for 1 hour. on all items of briefing that you have heard from staff up until this point. Everyone will be given 2 minutes to speak, and based on the sign-up sheet, we will begin with State Representative Bob Marshall. Representative, if you could please come forward, and although you are no stranger to the board, please do give us your name for the record and tell us where you're from.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Bob Marshall from Highlands Ranch, 2 Jackrabbit Place. So this to me feels like deja vu all over again. Down in the legislature, I fought hard against the Sundance Film Festival. Not because I hate Sundance. They all think I hate Sundance. I love Sundance. It's great. It's coming. We got snookered for $70 million when we didn't need to give them $70 million. So the question isn't whether these ball fields are needed, something we want. The question is what kind of deal this is. We had no public comment allowed anymore, in general public comment, so buried in 18 November, this project's already over budget and behind schedule. You had to put out the design contract almost twice as much time and twice as much cost, and that comes out of the general fund. You say you take public input, but you had no changes. And we asked for just 2 reasonable things at the start. Go ahead, do the project, but get an environmental indemnification. And I know we say, well, we got an insurance policy. Oh, it's all clean. Well, that's great. Then Sterling Ranch should have had no problem giving it an indemnification. And 2, equal access. If you're using county resources to build this, all the county residents should have equal access. Sterling Ranch residents should not have preferential access. That's why HRCA was down here saying that. If we had a commissioner that represented Highlands Ranch and not the whole county, I think we would get a better result for that. You say everyone supports it. It was 5th in Highlands Ranch, 34% wanted open space. It was tied for 5th in our area. Commissioner Layden tells us we have a unanimous decision of all the other municipalities. Everyone wants this. Well, that's great. Then why don't we send it to the ballot at the primary? I just lost 5 seconds, but you all wasted $700,000 on a special election for home rule no one wanted. You can do this for like $35,000 and put it on the primary ballot and everyone can vote on it. So thanks.
Why would he say that it's not for countywide use?
Thank you, Representative. Next speaker, Mark Steinke. And Mark, you're no stranger to the board, but please do give your name and tell us where you're from.
You bet. Mark Steinke. I'm with, tonight I'm actually representing Raptors Athletics and the AYL in general. So greetings, commissioners. Good to see you guys all again. Just want to put out real quick, first, some quick misinformation I want to get rid of is to make sure that there's been some things floating around, at least through our organization too, that there's some link here between the Douglas County Event Center transformation and improvement and the Zebulon project. So I want to make sure everybody knows that there's absolutely no connection there. Promises made by the commissioners and by the state advisory board are absolutely intact, and we appreciate you guys' candid conversations with us and your agreement to follow through on many of the agreements that we've talked about in the past. I'd like to state, Commissioner Teal, Commissioner Layden, I was in that same meeting you talked about 2 years ago where this whole thing started, and the importance of youth sports and those organizations to our community were put to the forefront. And I have to say that you guys, and as well as the advisory board, have delivered very well on all of those promises and kept those to the letter. So we at this time have not only verbal, but written, confirmation that those things will be followed through and that youth sports is a very important item for you guys. I'm a Colorado native. I've been a Douglas County resident for 20 years, and I've operated in the youth sports arena as a director and as a coach for 18 of those years, always in a nonprofit situation. And my experience has not only been with my kids who have gone through this whole organization and on to higher learning, but also many, many other 2,000 families in just the Castle Rock area that we work with. We're fully in support of the Zebulon project. It's absolutely a beautiful project, and it really, really points towards where we really need more facilities for youth programs that are always waitlisting and in need of more space for work. So thank you guys very much for your focus on this. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Turning next to Parker Councilmember John Dyak.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm here as a citizen. I'm representing the Town of Parker Council. I'm here to talk about certificates of participation to take care of this project. COPs, as they're commonly called, are instruments that act like bonds, but are a form of a lease purchase financing. And even though the Supreme Court has ruled that COPs are not long-term debt, they require annual appropriation that allows them to be issued without voter approval. You usually have to collateralize this COP with an underlying asset. As you looked, the Town of Parker did that, and their form of collateralization was the police department. So that is not a good look when it comes to kind of make sure that these COPs are collateralized. I think there's a better way. Obligation and risk, I think, are the two main themes here. I would not want the obligation of a COP. I think there are other methods, cash pay, save up. The Douglas County has been a shining star of fiscal responsibility throughout the years. They have done a lot with less. They have cut corners and they have saved money to make sure that the projects that needed to happen truly did happen. If you don't do that, then you potentially have risk. If you do not have the ability to pay for that $6.5 million, as Commissioner Layden has indicated at the beginning, where does that come from? It said profit. I would gratefully appreciate that something like this could potentially be put out to a for-profit entity to take this over, or again, cash pay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Member. We appreciate your comments. Gary Debus. Hey, folks, this is a business meeting. There's no need for any applause. There's going to be people that are going to speak to something you support, and then there's going to be people speaking to something you don't support. This is a business meeting. It's not a Trump rally. Let's keep it professional, please. Gary Debus, please.
Parker Collateralization, Police Department.
Thank you, Commissioners. Gary Debus. My last name is spelled D-E-B-U-S. I'm the General Manager for Sterling Ranch Cab and a longtime, very proud resident of rural Douglas County. I'm here today well, first of all, thank you all for your leadership. It's an extremely exciting time to be in Douglas County and watch things happen. And I especially appreciate the staff's presentation today. I think their recommendations are spot on, and want to thank them for that as well. Zebulon fits the bill for something that I've been passionate about in my entire career, and that's great community development. I've had the unique opportunity in my career to serve two of Colorado's biggest and most successful ranches. That would be Highlands Ranch and now Sterling Ranch. And I'm very proud of both of those and the things that have happened there. And as I've watched in my career in Highlands Ranch, Douglas County built great regional amenities and parks, not only in that community, but around the county. One area, and your Parks Advisory Board Chair mentioned this, Northwest Douglas County is kind of a desert in that regard. So this project fits that need in all of Douglas County, and it will certainly be a benefit to everyone. I would respectfully and silently ask for the benefit of the board and the entire audience, a show of hands of people that do support this project. And with that, I don't want to take any more time, but I think it's apparent that Douglas County does support the Zebulon project, and I think it's time to move forward. Carpe diem, and let's move some dirt. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. Kelsey Alexander, please.
His name's on my rec center in Highlands Ranch. It's kind of cool.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kelsey Alexander. You all know me, and I live in Keene Ranch, just over the interstate. I've lived here for 25 years, and I love recreation, just like all of you do. I've been a U.S. swim coach. I've coached soccer. I manage the city swimming pool where I had my kids. So I love recreation, and Zebulon could supply that for our community. But the one thing I think about this project is it's going to cost way more than you have told us. And that really bothers me. And you say it doesn't cost anything, but gee, the numbers you put up on this board, $2.2 million for the land, $12.2 million for the grading, $145 million for surrounding horizontal infrastructure, and on and on. I don't come here representing anybody but myself, but maybe I represent my demographic in this county, and there are a lot of me. 70% of the people that live in this county do not have kids in public schools. I'm not sure that we all want a ton of recreation facilities when our school-age child's population is declining in this county. Don't know why we need to build all this. But if we do want to build it, great. Let's put it out in the private sector, and let's let these people who want to make money off of it make money off of it. I'm all for it. I love capitalism, and I love private enterprise. I do not think this is a role of government. I don't think you've told us what it's really going to cost, and that really bothers me. And one place it's really going to cost me is my property tax. I used to get a rebate because you guys didn't spend all the money, and so you were able to give us money back. But this past year, you didn't do that. I think you spent it on Zebulon. So I'd really vote no on this. I think you've pulled the wool over our eyes.
There was a rebate in our budget last year for property taxes.
All right.
False information.
Mickey Clark, please. Mickey, you're no stranger to the board, but please do give your name. Tell us where you're from.
My real name, Michelle Clark. You don't have to repeat that. So Mickey Clark, and I have lived in the county 35 years. And I want to talk about some things that we're not quite talking about yet. And I think it's the underlying part of every time a county wants to grow and have a vision. So the two things I want to talk about are vision and leadership. I might have a unique perspective on this. I ran the very first open space election in 1994. Well, 1993, we failed that one, but 1994, we won by 55%. I've run every single open space, and in 2022, parks, trails, open space, and historic preservation. I've run every single one of those campaigns in 35 years. So I've brought my kids up here. These are things that really mean a lot to me. So I've heard a lot of, I hear a little bit of, well, why do we need this? Well, this comes to the vision part. We're a county of smart, educated, affluent people who love their kids and want their kids to have the best lives. And when I got here 35 years ago as a young mother, I wanted the same thing. So I went out and did something about it, and we passed it. And now, what do we have? Hundreds of miles of trails, thousands of acres of open space, great parks. The reason we had this is because we all have these values. We want we want a great life. We want buffers between communities. We want the I-25 corridor has been protected. We bonded for that. I'd just like to remind everyone here, this isn't a terrible thing, this debt thing. This isn't something to be afraid of. We bonded for that, and if we didn't have that today, we would have development from the north to the south of this county. We did that. We didn't wait and say, well, let's see, maybe we could find a way. You have a vision. It reflects the values of who we are. Now, whether this isn't political to me, this is something that Jay Sage, me, I could name 20 people in this county who've been at it. Pardon me.
You are out of time.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Please, we need to have a vision, and we have the leadership. Let's support it.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Let's hold all applause, please. Doug Chestnut, please.
My name is Doug Chestnut, C-H-E-S-T-N-U-T-T. I'm all for sports. I participated in sports through my school years and at the world-class pro level into my 60s. But the problem I have is cost on this. And something that has not been said is the infrastructure, the roads to support this, to get people in and out. I remember 5 high school kids killed at Titan Road on the railroad tracks. You've got Airport Road in Waterton where it goes now. There's 2 railroad tracks and a bridge. And we got people talking about coming in at 2, 3 in the morning, early morning, late afternoons. There's a lot of traffic, and our infrastructure doesn't support that. We still have Waterton Canyon up there at the Jefferson County line that's never been fixed. It's a huge problem. We keep growing and growing and adding things, but we're not adding the infrastructure to support it. I'm concerned about water. In one of the meetings that you had, somebody asked about water, and you talked about, I think Brock said, we have artificial turf. Well, you have ice rinks, you have showers, you're talking about restaurants and hotels. That takes a lot of water. And then sewer. All those things are infrastructure that are critically important. You talked a lot about Zebulon. It's great. The problem is it in the right place and is at the right time with the right infrastructure to support it so it doesn't fail. And I think private industry and capitalism should take it on and do the due diligence to make it run, because I'm afraid the taxpayer is going to end up paying the bill for this. So I would respectfully ask you to look into that and say no, because that has not been addressed. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, sir. Next, Kathy Redmond. Just a reminder, please give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Kathy Redmond, Castle Rock, Colorado. There are 2 mantras in hockey. Number 1 is ice builds community, which is true. And number 2, hockey is for everyone. The latter mantra is yet to be realized in Colorado, due in part to the lack of the community ice. Colorado is 9th for hockey registrations. It's driving demand. The demand is there, but the ice supply is not. Limited ice can then be monopolized or weaponized by those who have it and have the means to acquire it, further increasing the disparity of access. In the states where community rinks exist, the costs to play are lower, and the competition is higher, and there is more diversity of kids and adults, including adaptive hockey, which is sled hockey, participating. A strong foundation is built that lessens the costs and increases the community support. Imagine 1 golf course in Douglas County or 1 pickleball court in Douglas County. Supply and demand dictates that limited access would drive down opportunity for everyone except those at the top. This is happening in hockey. Colorado is notably one of the most expensive states to play hockey. Zebulon would attract teams to Colorado to play, lowering exceedingly high costs for travel to find competition and keeping the ice comparably affordable. Currently, Colorado is not a destination location. Parents have to travel, and Commissioner Van Winkle, you asked about travel. We have adults here in Castle Rock who play hockey who are traveling to Westminster at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. That's inclement weather. For me, with my son playing hockey, we have to travel at 5 a.m. to play hockey. So the lower costs provided by Zebulon would allow greater access, it would allow greater diversity, and that's what we need, and we need the costs lowered. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Jeremy, first name, and then the last name I'm having trouble with, Slavu? You're going to need to come up and tell me the right way to say it and tell us where you're from.
Yes, hello. My name is Jeremy Slavic. I'm from Lone Tree, Colorado. I really just came here to kind of understand this project a lot more. And after hearing everything about it, I do think that all of the due diligence has all been completed. It looks like the environmental concerns have been addressed. is self-sustaining financially, so it looks like that money will come back to the community, and then possibly, really create some great profit opportunities for Douglas County. So it looks like a good project and really a great way for Douglas County to move forward. So that's really all I had to say. And if KT Development needs any project managers, I'm available for this project. So thanks so much. Appreciate it, Commissioners.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slavic. Very much appreciated. Next up, Lynn Moffett, please. Please do, and here comes Lynn. Lynn, you're no stranger to the board, but please do give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Hello, I'm Lynn Moffett. I'm a proud resident of Sterling Ranch. I'm also on Metro District number 3 board member, and I'm a Parks Advisory board member. I'm coming more as a resident than any other capacity right now. But what I wanted to say is, and I've said this at other meetings, the dollars and cents are something we have to look at, but I think that the human piece of this is something that can't be overstated. I'm a former soccer player. I played collegiately. I played on the U.S. select team, and I played over in Europe. A lot of who I became was because of sports. The benefits I had were fitness, obviously, although you can't tell that now, but once upon a time. Discipline. I learned discipline that was beyond anything that you could describe from kids who didn't play. Up early, down late, work hard, have to keep up with school along with the competitions that I was in. I learned teamwork. I learned how to work with people. I learned humility, both in winning and in losing. And I think that's really important for kids to learn. Egos right now are running high everywhere, in this room, out of this room, and learning humility through sports is something that carries over to life. It's goal-driven achievement. It may be sport, but once you get in the working world, it's the same. It's goal-driven achievement. And it's something that kids can learn when they compete, and mostly when they compete as part of a team. What we learn carries over, obviously, to school. It carries over through our family life. It carries over to friends groups. Actually, we make friends groups. I still have friends from junior soccer that I keep in touch with on an annual basis. They're friends that go so deep, you don't even have to use full sentences. You can just say one word about a time, and it brings you back, and it brings you together. Careers. A lot of my career has been defined by the competition that I entered and the connections that I've made. So I wanted to make sure that you got the perspective from an athlete tonight. And with that, I strongly advocate for the development of Zebulon Sports Complex. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Much appreciate your comments. Betsy Feldman is. And ma'am, please do give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
My name is Betsy Feldman, and I'm from Centennial. My daughter is 17 and has been part of Highlands Ranch Aquatics for most of her life, and so I'm representing that team. You may not know, but Highlands Ranch Aquatics has a national reputation for being an amazing program, and somehow the team has managed to do that with practices at a small swim school facility and sharing pool time in rec centers in Douglas County with high schools. And the whole time that my daughter has swam, we've talked constantly about how difficult it is, and I think it's very similar to hockey, how difficult it is to have pool space. And in some instances, these kids are in the pool and they're head to foot, the entire pool's filled, and it's just it's a super hard situation for them. So when we heard about this possibility, we're super excited. Right now, the closest 50-meter pool that we can practice at is in Lowry. And so my 16-year-old, all summer long, through the whole summer, outdoor pool in literally a field that used to be a military pool. So she's driving 225 back and forth, 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, all summer long. And I think it would be so awesome for these kids that all live locally to be able to stay in the community, to be able to be together in their community, to not have so much time on the road. So thank you for considering this project and for all the work that you've put into it. We wholeheartedly support it and are super excited about the future.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate it. Shannon Clough. Ma'am, please come on forward. And by the way, if I mispronounced your name, you'll get an opportunity to tell me I was wrong. And pronounce your name for us, please, and
Good
tell us
evening,
where you're from.
Commissioners. My name is Shannon Clough, C-L-O-U-G-H. I reside in Highlands Ranch, and these are my two daughters, Batty and Coco. My other daughter could not be here, but our family of 3 daughters has been raised in Highlands Ranch, and we enthusiastically support Zebulon and Sterling Ranch. Sports are a large part of our lives, and we do not have the ball fields, the ice rinks, the practice facilities for cheerleading for my daughter especially, in Northwest Douglas County to participate, and Zebulon will provide all of those. I am also the admin assistant to the athletic director of Mountain Vista High School, and I can speak directly to their need. We do not have the fields or facilities we need. Please approve Zebulon project before you. If you really care about girls growing up in Douglas County, approve the sports facilities we deserve. My daughter Coco has one last remark.
Hi, I'm Coco Clough, and I'm involved in cheerleading and lacrosse, and I need more space to be able to practice these sports I love. I would love having indoor facilities for my favorite spring sport so we wouldn't have to worry about bad weather. It would make practices and games way more fun and way less stressful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Very much appreciated. Dan Smith, please. Sir, please give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Hi, my name is Dan Smith. I'm from Highlands Ranch. It's my first time, I believe, to speak in front of this body, so thank you all very much for holding this hearing. I come here as, first, a big supporter of athletics. I have been some combination of a coach, a ref, and a sports dad for more than 30 years now. Was a collegiate athlete myself. I love sports. I can also testify to the need to be here locally. In the last 10 days, I've had to drive kids to Loveland and to Broomfield. And 2 weeks from Friday, I'm getting up at 3 in the morning to take my son to the airport. So those are my bona fides as a sport parent. But I worry very much about financing this through a certificate of participation. The COP can be a no-tax event if the proceeds that the Zebulon Corporation gets are sufficient, generate enough revenue. How does that revenue come in? We haven't seen all those details, but primarily it's usage fees. It's not going to be taxes that are charged. It's going to be the people who are playing in Zebulon that are paying the usage fees that then get turned around and channeled back to the county. As a financial services professional of 20 years, there is a yield premium on certificates of participation. The effective rate that the investors expect to see is 1% higher than a general obligation bond. So if we don't generate enough usage fees, the county is on the hook for that premium. A bond would be cheaper. Please, let's just do this with a bond. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Folks, let's hold applause, please. Castle Rock Council Member Kevin Bracken. Yeah. Kevin, I really hope you didn't lose a fight to these guys.
Hi, Kevin Bracken,
council member for Castle Rock. I understand this project's a real pain in the neck. But I'm going to take this off so you can perhaps hear me. So anyways, I coach at the U.S. Olympic Training Center. I coach wrestling and football out of Castle View High School. And I don't think you guys understand how difficult it is to get these young men out here to show up and listen to adults blah, blah, blah talk. But I'm telling you, them listening to this process is going to be a learning experience for them. What the community has to do, what the commissioners have to do to get these items approved, to be able to have something special, to be able to offset programming within our area. They know they're football players, but they also do other sports. They know that these items in activities are going to offset. They're going to offer opportunities for them to compete, and it's part of our community. And we are 100% supportive. The Raptors are here. Castleview football is here. We have a hockey player from the girls team that won state from Castleview. All these programs are all supportive. Because they're not here, to understand that there's a lot more than just the folks that are here today. There's huge support for this project. I'm just upset that it's not in the town of Castle Rock. Other than that, I won't take up any more time because the prior speakers were very elegant in the benefits, and there are many, and most of the benefits are standing right behind me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, council member. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming forward. Chad Michaels, please. And Chad, go ahead and give us your name and tell us where you're from.
Yep, Chad Michaels, and this is Hendrix Michaels, my son. We're from Plum Valley Creek. I'm going to read this because I didn't memorize it, so I apologize. But good evening, commissioners. Thank you for your time. My name is Chad Michaels, as I've said. I'm a Douglas County resident. Tonight, I want to raise 3 critical concerns about Zebulon that I believe demand answers before this county commits further taxpayer dollars, and those are water, fire safety, and the financial risk. This week, Denver Water declared its first stage 1 drought since 2013, targeting a 20% reduction in water use as Colorado's snowpack hits the lowest level ever recorded. Douglas County's own water utilities, Castle Rock, Highlands Ranch, Parker Water, are already urging conservation and asking residents to delay turning on sprinklers until mid-May. And yet, we're being asked to advance this 46, however many acre complex with multiple outdoor baseball fields, soccer fields, and 160,000 square foot dome. Research from the Sports Field Management Association shows that a single natural grass field requires up to 1.5 million gallons of water per season. With 4 baseball fields plus soccer complexes, this could consume tens of millions of gallons of water annually, while residents are restricted to watering their own lawns twice a week. Where is the independent water study that has the current drought conditions if that keeps on escalating? Where's the water going to come from? And then on fire safety, the complex sits at the intersection of Moore Road and Waterton Road. This has always been a bottleneck there. I'm going to cut it short, but there's not enough access for residents to exit in a fire, or when we have thousands of people at the sporting complex and you want everybody to evacuate. There needs to be consideration to the upgrade of all of those intersections so that we can evacuate in a reasonable amount of time. And not to mention the financial impact if we don't run this 24/7 with full capacity, what the impact is on us. Hendrix, I don't have time for you, but I'm sorry. He was going to read something, and I apologize.
Well,
Let him read something. If that young man came all this way, why don't we give him a chance to read something?
Hey, yeah, come on back up, Mr. Michaels. Let's hear from the little man.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. You made people applaud. I already told them not to do that. All right, buddy, what do you got? Hey, you got to tell us your name and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Hendrix, and I go to Roxborough Intermediate School. I know Many people don't often listen to kids, but I'm still going to speak today. I don't think we should build the Zebulon because it can hurt my family, friends, and pets. I love baseball, but I still don't think we should build Zebulon because it will kick up polluted dirt and harm us. Thank you for listening.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Kim Harburg, please. Kim, you're no stranger to the board, but please do tell us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Kim Harburg, Northwest Douglas County, resident, and I've been a business owner in Douglas County for about 29 years now. I first want to say thank you to my 3 commissioners for all that you do to try and make our county a great place to live and work, and equally as important, recreate. So thank you for that. Not many people know this, but back in June of 21, I submitted a bid for the 357-acre Camorras DuPont property. I'd been working with them, and it went out to bid. And unfortunately for me, but I feel fortunately for Douglas County, I was not the successful bidder. If I had been, my plan was to take the path of least resistance and develop this property into the heavy industrial type property that it was zoned for, such as a recycling center, RV storage, automotive repair, heavy equipment yards, truck terminals, or typical South Santa Fe type uses. So when I see this huge area of land, which sits in such an interesting area, be considered for such a visionary project that will undoubtedly benefit our kids and generations of youth to follow, it makes me feel pretty darn good to not have been that successful bidder. I believe that we get only one shot at something like this, where there's a huge chunk of ground right in the perfect area for a sports complex like this. We have a big, beautiful piece of property. We've got commissioners with great vision and a conscientious local developer next door that is both willing and able to take on such a massive project like this. Because once it's gone and it's all developed into little industrial pieces, it's gone forever. So this is a one-shot opportunity. I thank you, commissioners, for your vision and for the courage to exercise your vision. As you can tell, I'm a strong yes on the Zebulon project. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Very much appreciated. Tiffany Milburn, please. Ma'am,
Hello.
please give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Tiffany Milburn. I'm a Roxborough resident and homeowner. I want to speak to the financial responsibility of moving forward with this project before the infrastructure is there to support it. Right now, roadway expansion on our busy bottlenecked roads is not planned until 2050. At the same time, evacuation modeling has already been shown that Roxborough Park alone, the furthest south community, could take up to 6 hours or more for them to evacuate. This does not include Roxborough Village, Sterling Ranch, or any of the other surrounding areas. We have no projection for evacuation timelines for the community as a whole. That matters financially, because when infrastructure lags behind rapid development, the cost doesn't disappear, it gets pushed forward. Slower emergency response when every second counts, higher costs pushed onto the community, and the real safety risks when roads can't handle the people using them. Other communities are approaching projects like this very differently. Castle Rock conducted a feasibility study years in advance before moving forward with a similar investment, while Lone Tree and Parker are expanding existing infrastructure based on clear planning. So this raises reasonable question. Is this the right time and the right location for a project of this scale? Because this may be the right idea, of course, children need a place to play, but in the wrong location without the infrastructure there to support it. Approving financing without a near-term plan for roadway capacity means committing to costs that are not fully accounted for today. And once that commitment is made, those costs become the county's responsibility over time. This isn't about opposing development or children's sports. It's about prioritizing safety by making sure infrastructure is prioritized before growth. Otherwise, we're not just funding a project, we're funding the problems that come with it. And I hope that you really hear me in that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Rob Howard, please. All right, sir, give us your name for the record and tell us where you're from.
Robert Howard, and I'm from Leviers. Leviers is the tiny little village that you actually could see on a lot of those maps and images. My house actually backs up to the backyard of Zebulon, so I'm one of the closest, probably 10 homeowners to the proposed site for the Zebulon facility. And, you know, I'm not going to get anything financially out of Zebulon. Maybe my son will play there, maybe he won't, but what I will get is I think something that is just so much better for the community and the region than what's there right now. Leviers, as you may know, is over 100 years old. The dynamite plant that used to be on this site, Leviers was the company town for it. And we love our history, but we're really ready to move away from our industrial past into something that's a lot better. The board and Sterling Ranch and a lot of other folks have already invested a lot in open space and conservation around Leviers. And, you know, I really see this as basically the next step. I think about where I would want my tax money to be spent to the extent that tax money will be spent on this. I think preserving over 100 acres of open space and putting in recreation facilities and amenities for everybody makes a lot of sense to me. This is a little awkward, but I oppose some of Douglas County's decisions, and I've been here before in opposition to other land use issues around Leviers. In fact, if the guy who bid on this to put industrial space or industrial facilities at this location had won his bid, I'd probably be in court with him fighting against that, because I'm suing Douglas County on the other side of Leviers right now against industrial expansion that I think is bad for the community. So that being said, you know, we don't agree on everything. We often don't agree politically. But when I look at the opportunity to put amenities for everybody, to support growth in a positive way, you know, Douglas County is growing. That's good. We need space and amenities for the folks who are moving here. You know, even for a historic community like Leviers, you know, I know that my neighbors and I can kind of get behind this and see the value for the region as a whole. So thank you for your time. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Carol Soren, please. Carol Soren? No, I'm not seeing Carol. Ellie Reynolds.
Good afternoon, good evening, I guess now, Chair and Commissioners. For the record, I am Ellie Reynolds. I'm the CEO and President of the Douglas County Economic Development Corporation. I'm a mother, and I also live in Sterling Ranch. And on behalf of the Douglas County EDC, we are here to stand firmly behind Project Zebulon and are eager to see the positive transformation it will bring to the county and more specifically this region. In economic development, we look for projects that offer more than incremental growth, but we look for projects that redefine a region's trajectory. Our recent independent economic impact analysis that you brought up earlier through Metro Denver EDC confirms that this will deliver a $1.3 billion total economic impact to the county. This isn't just a speculative figure. It reflects a robust multi-sector influx of capital. Here is how that impact will translate to community value. It'll establish a premier venue capable of hosting major regional and national tournaments, and we are creating a reliable year-round engine for consumer spending in the region. This project acts as an anchor tenant for the surrounding area, providing the necessary density to attract high-quality hotels, diverse retail, and new dining options this area so desperately needs. Most critically, Project Zebulon brings high-level investment to a specific sector of our county that has been historically underserved. It represents a commitment to balanced growth and to the long-term tax base. This is a chance to diversify our tax base and create a premier destination that serves both the residents and the visitors we hope choose to come to this region. The EDC believes that Project Zebulon is a foundational win for our community's future and our county, and we strongly urge your support. Thank you for your leadership.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Our next person up is Chris Rourke, please. Ma'am, go ahead and give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Chris Rourke. I live in Parker. I want to start by saying I'm not against kids' sports. I am a hockey mom that has driven all through the state of Colorado supporting my son. He's now grown. He's the goalie at Texas State University. Really proud of him. But I will tell you this, when he first started skating, I stood at a rink where the temperatures were minus 40 degrees in Gunnison, Colorado. Gunnison ended up building its own rink, an indoor rink, but it did so through a voter-approved bond, and that is the issue here for me. You are committing a debt-free county to a long-term financing plan, and it may not legally be called debt, but that's what it is. If it looks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, and it talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. If this is such a good idea, put it to a bond initiative, because within a bond initiative, how this project is paid for is restricted by the language in that ballot. Commissioner Layden, you said no new taxes will go towards this, and yet the agreement, the infrastructure acquisition agreement, says that the county can reimburse through any legally available revenue source. What happens if the revenue that you're counting on is not generated? That falls back on taxpayers. I looked at this infrastructure acquisition agreement, and there are a couple things that concern me. There's a late fee of 8%. That's almost 3 times what a normal municipal bond would charge. Once the county accepts the infrastructure reimbursement, everything is on the hook. It has to be paid for. And again, if the revenues aren't there, it falls back on taxpayers. This is a debt-free county. You're committing us to long-term financing. I really would like you to consider going to a ballot initiative. If this project is so important and kids' sports is, then why not put it to a vote? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's hold applause, please. Frank McNulty, please. Yeah, Frank McNulty, please. Oh, he's coming. Sir, you're no stranger to the board, but please do give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Frank McNulty from Highlands Ranch, Colorado. I'm dead in the middle of this question right now. I was on the phone this afternoon trying to find dirt for my son's baseball team to play baseball. There is no dirt to play baseball in northern Douglas County. The idea that we ought to push this out, that we don't need it, is simply untrue. We have a need. We know that we have a need. And it's sort of unfortunate that this issue has kind of become political, because at its heart, it's about our kids. My neighbor, John, says we need ice, more ice in northern Douglas County. I was fortunate enough to keep my son away from ice hockey so that I don't have to deal with the 4 o'clock in the morning ice calls. But it is a challenge this time of year when the Metro District has leagues starting, when you have other baseball programs that already have these fields called for, to find fields to practice on. And I understand that what's happening out at Zebulon isn't going to solve that problem, but it is going to be part of the solution. And the solution helps our kids, it helps our families, and being from Highlands Ranch, I know that we value the opportunity to have things close by, to have these amenities near us, and to be able to spend that time with our kids. So, Commissioners, I ask for you to support this. I ask for you to take it forward. The financing aspect of this is no different than taking out a mortgage on a home. It is really quite that simple, and an opportunity for the county to actually save money by moving forward. And I appreciate the fact that there are those in the audience who don't appreciate the fact that that's what it is, but in its simplest form, that's what it is. So thank you for being innovative, thank you for being leaders, and thank you for taking care of our kids. Appreciate your time and appreciate your work.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Next up, Jared Taylor, please. All right, Mr. Taylor, you're no stranger to the board, but please do give us your name, tell us where you're from.
Of course, thank you, Commissioners. My name is Jared Taylor. I'm from Highlands Ranch. I've lived here 39 years. No matter what my hair looks like, I'm not that old. When I was on the Parks Advisory Board, there was no bigger supporter of field space than I was. I was a big proponent of High Note. I was a proponent of Salisbury Park in Parker. Sterling Ranch needs fields. That's not the issue here. Zebulon's a different animal than what the county's used to dealing with. We're looking at an actual sports complex with ice, all these other things, tournaments, all that type of stuff. So infrastructure becomes an issue. Northwest Douglas County is not easy to get to for most of this county. Anyone who has gone out to Sterling Ranch at rush hour knows how difficult it can be to get into Sterling Ranch. So we need the infrastructure to come up. I also don't know if the infrastructure is going to follow this necessarily unless this is a success. And because of the certificates of participation, there's no guarantee that if it is not a success, we're the ones who pay for it, the taxpayers. She already took my duck comment, so it is debt. And the other way I can come up with this is you might as well take Tabor out into behind this building and treat it like Old Yeller and put it down. Because that's exactly what we are doing here. Where it's this, an end around Tabor, put it to the vote of the people. That's all I ask. That's what we asked with 1A2. Put it to a vote. Let the people decide. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Natalie Christo, please. Ma'am, please give us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Yes, good evening. I'm Natalie Christo. I'm from Arvada. I'm an associate attorney at Holland & Hart. I'm here today representing Sterling Ranch and Zebulon. Doug Benevento, my colleague, and I have worked on this project together over the past year. I specialize in environmental issues, and I have a degree in geology and worked as a geologist prior to pursuing law. I've spent a decade working on environmental matters, including site cleanup and ensuring environmental processes are being followed correctly, both in my current legal role and previously as a scientist. I'd like to take a moment to reassure everyone that the environmental piece of this project has and will continue to protect human health and the environment. There are very stringent processes in place to protect human health and the environment when redeveloping a site like this. And this one has and will continue to meet all of these requirements. This redevelopment happens often. There are hundreds of sites like this in Colorado that have gone very well. Currently, the site is proceeding, as mentioned, under a state-approved determination that it is safe for redevelopment. And the state is not just walking away after that. They still have authority to step in if any issues arise. This project is being done the right way, in full compliance with local, state, and federal and environmental laws. I'm confident the community will be well protected, and for all of these reasons, I respectfully support the Zebulon proposals today. Thanks.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Tiffany Milburn, please. Oh. Alas, my record keeping. Let's go to Castle Rock Council Member Tim Dietz.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Tim Dietz, Castle Rock Town Councilman and Castle Rock and Douglas County resident. I think what we have here is a need. I'm a hockey player from the past two. Castle Rock itself has Crystal Valley Interchange coming in. We saw the need for that. It's also going to create an opportunity for us to bring Gold Crown. And we're going to have a very special sports rec center in Castle Rock, which we did a lot in the same way it's been happening here. So knowing a lot of the hockey parents out there and a lot of people who have children that need these amenities, I also know that Ellie spoke from the EDC there very eloquently. It's going to create commerce and sales tax drive. I would love it for you all to come and spend that money in Castle Rock or anywhere else in Douglas County while you're playing your sports, in mentoring your children in the way of using sports and athletics to change their lives. To me, the cost is the cost. But down the road, what you're going to have out of this is productive young citizens. And I'm all for children. I'm for their safety and their well-being and their upbringing and their growth. Thank you, commissioners. I support you in this. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Next up, Sam Johnson.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sam Johnson. I'm a resident of Sterling Ranch. I also serve on the Sterling Ranch Metro District 2 Board of Directors. But tonight, I'm here as a parent first. I've had the opportunity to watch our community grow from 100 homes to just over 3,000 today. I was here when we hosted events like Tough Mudder, when the Waterton Road extension was opened, and as we've worked to bring schools and other amenities to reality. And with that growth, one thing has become very clear. We are still catching up when it comes to recreation and gathering spaces. I have 2 kids, an 11-year-old daughter who plays volleyball and an 8-year-old son who plays baseball. And like many families, our weekends are spent driving. Just this past weekend, we drove half an hour east to Highlands Ranch for volleyball. We did win. And half an hour northwest to Ken Carroll for baseball practice. At the same time, I regularly hear from our neighbors who want more places to gather, restaurants, small retail spaces that make a community feel whole. The reality is, those amenities follow activity. They follow destinations. That's what makes the Zebulon Sports Complex so important. It brings much-needed fields, courts, ice rinks, and aquatic facilities to our area, while also creating the kind of destination that can help attract the retail and dining options our residents are asking for. This isn't just about sports. It's about giving families their time back, supporting our kids, and helping our community grow in a way that finally matches the pace of the people already living here. I respectfully ask for your continued support. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, sir. Joanne Wolf, please. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Let's go to the next page. Dr. Matthew Lake. And not seeing Dr. Lake. How about Jared Spires, please?
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Jared Spires. I live in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. I'm the CEO of Real Colorado, and I've been here several times over the last decade and a half. I do want to make a really shout out to the Douglas County staff. They are amazing to work with. They work hard for us as youth organizations. We serve about 4,000 kids in Douglas County. We do soccer. And if any of you watched this weekend when the Denver Summit played, 4 of those kids grew up on our fields. We set the record for the NWSL with 60,000 people. And I would imagine a lot of those came from Douglas County to support those people. We can be proud of them. The last Olympics involved 2 players from Real Colorado who won the gold medal. This has been a historical pattern. But the one thing missing in Douglas County is a facility that's elite. We work very hard with the facilities we do have, such as putting 4 teams at a field every single night at Douglas County Highlands Heritage Park because they're lit. That's 2 fields. The rest are natural grass fields that are built generally for recreation. And when we say recreation, we are talking base level topsoil, grass that's bumpy, and sometimes these poor kids are playing at grass longer than their knees. So it's really important, not only do we add facilities, that we take the time and effort to make great facilities so that we can continue to offer what we have, and that is an amazing talent of kids in every sport that can be spending time outside instead of sitting on their phone. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Carissa Smaldoni. You get to pronounce it when you come up here, ma'am. And please do, when you come up, give us your name. Please tell us where you're from.
Hi, I'm Carissa Smaldone from Highlands Ranch. Good evening, my name is Carissa Smaldone, and I've been a resident of Douglas County for 22 years. I'm a proud basketball mom, business owner, and serve on the Douglas County Parks Advisory Board. I'm here to share a very real challenge families like mine face. We spend hours traveling just to attend a single game. That kind of time commitment adds up quickly and takes away from family, school, and community involvement. Excuse me. Bringing Zebulon to our area would be a meaningful investment in our youth and our families. It would it would reduce travel burdens, increase access to opportunities, and strengthen our local community. I strongly support this and encourage you to consider the positive impact it will have for so many families like mine. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Very much appreciate your comments. Emily, I think it's Dreyer. Ma'am, please come forward, give us your name, tell us where you're from.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Emily Dreyer. I'm from Castle Rock. I am a proud mom of 2 kids, ages 8 and 10. They're very active in the community, and I have called Douglas County home for 14 years. I've seen the exceptional population growth over these years, but not the amenity infrastructure growth to accommodate it. I'm speaking today on behalf of myself and many friends who are currently taking their kids to practice because we don't have the facilities here to support them. Like so many local families, we drive to neighboring counties on weekdays for practices, on weekends for games and tournaments. We miss family dinners, rush through homework in the backseat of the cars, and burn gas just to find decent ice time and indoor courts. And it's exhausting. Our kids go to bed late. What concerns me most is how this lack of local amenities is holding our county back. I've talked with many young families who hesitate to move to Douglas County or are considering leaving because we don't offer the quality sports and recreation facilities that other communities provide. Parents want great schools, safe neighborhoods, and convenient year-round indoor activities for their kids. That's why we are very excited about the Zebulon Sports Project. All the indoor facilities for all the sports are very welcomed, including soccer, lacrosse, softball. Best of all, we'll be able to host our own tournaments instead of always traveling to them. This means families from across Colorado will come here, filling our hotels, restaurants, especially supporting our small businesses with new revenue and foot traffic. This is an investment in our kids, stronger families, and a thriving community that attracts and keeps families who want to build their lives here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Brooke, looks like Weefley? Brooke? Nope, those people are going the wrong way. All right. Tyson Helmich. Hey, you know what, sir? You got to say it all over again, and please tell us where you're from while you're at it.
Yes, of course. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tyson Helmich, and my husband and I have been proudly part of the Sterling Ranch community since 2018. I've served on the Sterling Ranch Resident Advisory Committee, which has kept me closely connected to the perspectives and priorities of my fellow residents. My husband has also been actively involved, serving on multiple committees and currently on the Metro District 2 board. I'm here today to express a strong support for the Zebulon project. Commissioner Layden, thank you for your opening comments. They strongly align with my thoughts exactly. Zebulon, as you know, represents thoughtful, forward-looking development that aligns with a long-term vision for our community. This is a well-researched, carefully planned project with serious attention given to both its economic vitality, viability, and safety. That level of diligence should give residents confidence in what's being proposed. Zebulon offers real benefits, economic growth, opportunities for local businesses, ownership, and business owners, and a stronger, more self-sustaining community. To move forward, we need a solid funding strategy, and tools like COPs provide a practical path to get development started soon. I want to commend the commissioners and all those involved for their leadership and vision. Zebulon has the potential to be a defining and positive addition to our community, and I encourage you to move forward with confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Tyson, I apologize for that brief interruption. However, our hour of public comment has come to an end. I know we did not get to everyone, but...
Sorry, sir. I demand to have a continuance. You can knock it all you want.
Ma'am, hey, I'm sorry. You really have to sit down. You need to sit down. And oh, okay. Well, could I ask a member of staff to please ask the lady to please take a professional demeanor?
Actually do need to use the restroom, so maybe a bio break.
Well, tell you what, while we sort this out, let's take a brief recess. We'll be back in 10 minutes. All right, folks, let's come back to order. Okay, folks. So let's, so we've closed public comment. Let's go back to staff to respond to a couple of the items we heard from public comment. Dan, are you ready to discuss some things? I noticed, I think we had some prepared speeches that may not have been fully responsive to the staff presentation. So if you could respond to a couple of the, to some of the, what we heard with public comment, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, and there are certainly policy perspectives that I won't address, but where, thank you. All right, I won't speak to policy differences, but I'll try to address factual information where appropriate. We heard comments about the potential for environmental indemnification. As I mentioned, when it comes to the firefighting foam release area in particular, that's a cost that Sterling Ranch will bear on behalf of the county. There was comments about cost of accessing the facility and in general comments about fee-for-service model for a recreational amenity like this. The Phase 1A program development step in the process with KT Development will really refine the county's approach to fee for access and what that model looks like. And that Phase 1A process is really going to be focused on developing feasibility analysis and cost structure for the overall project and ensuring its financial viability. We've come to think of it as a feasibility analysis with a pro forma attached. So more to come there. A lot of comments about roadway improvements in the area and the need for more roadway improvements. Sean noted that the Moore Road widening project goes out for bid this year. That'll be a roadway widening from Airport Road to, from Waterton Road to Titan Road. The Airport Road interchange design and the Titan Road interchange design both start within a few months, as does design on Waterton Road improvements on the west end of Sterling Ranch and the Chatfield Valley, where it crosses the Platte River in the next few months. So a lot of new capital improvements projects, roadway projects coming down the pipeline, starting design very soon. There was comments about water and the utilization of water for fields. All fields proposed at this complex would be synthetic fields. There was comments related to the infrastructure agreement and the potential for late fees. Sean and I will be closely monitoring the progress of infrastructure development over the course of the project. Payments under that agreement would only occur once the county has accepted that infrastructure, so inspected and accepted the infrastructure. We'll be able to plan for those payments, and those payments would come in phases as that infrastructure is built, reviewed, inspected, and accepted.
To that last point, Dan, is this something new? The way we're managing this infrastructure, and we've done infrastructure projects since I've been here on the board, are we doing something new, or are we doing a process we've done for years, even before I got on the board?
Sean and our engineering capital projects department have managed projects much larger than $12 million. I can let Sean speak to that.
Go ahead when you're ready, Sean.
I gotta find the buttons again. I don't believe this is anything new, George. I mean, you've seen this where we've partnered with Castle Rock, Parker on other projects much larger than this one. This one is our project, so we're looking for projects or partners that will help us get infrastructure, overlap grading and water and sewer. We don't do a lot of water and sewer projects, so to have Sterling Ranch come in and do that when they have contractors available that have been vetted and are working in that area absolutely is a great partnership for us. So that's this is not, I don't think it's anything new. It's just a different agreement.
Okay, thanks, Sean. And then Dan, we heard a lot of comments concerning road infrastructure. You touched on the fact that we are indeed pursuing federal support for roads in the area. We could talk for an hour about that, and I have talked for many hours about road infrastructure in this county before, but just give us a brief summary of the road infrastructure in the area and the concerns that we heard from the public about it needs more work. Can you tell them about the work that we're looking at doing?
Certainly, we have a variety of funding mechanisms for our roadway capital improvements. Sterling Ranch contributes to some of those. Sterling Ranch, as houses develop in Sterling Ranch, pays a roadway mitigation fee that helps fund roadway projects in the area. Capital improvements are funded through a small sales tax as well, roadway capital improvements. So we have a variety of funding mechanisms to address roadway needs. The engineering division develops a capital improvements plan based on needs and priorities countywide, both for new construction and for reconstruction and maintenance. As I noted, the design starts on each of the entryways into the Chatfield Valley, on improving those entryways this year, and then those projects would make their way through the capital improvements planning cycle and be implemented over time.
All right. Board, further questions for staff?
You know, I think that was a good battery of responses just to make sure that we're touching on those key issues. I think it's really important to share. First and foremost, I do want to thank every citizen for the comments, perspectives. I think it's late, and I know you've invested a lot of time with us, so thank you for being here. In my 8th year as commissioner, I think it's really important to share the importance of public safety and the investment that this county and this board has made to ensure that those issues that were touched upon have not only been invested in wisely, but are protecting you on a daily basis. The first of which is having the state's only county-operated heli-tac team. That means that we put out 50 wildfires this last year, 10 of which were out of the county that we get reimbursed for. Any one of those could have been catastrophic. The point of that helicopter and that dedicated heli-tac team is to keep you, your pets, your property safe, and they have. So we'll continue to invest there. I know this board has budgeted an increase for this year to have a climate-controlled hangar to house that helicopter year-round, because we know fire season is January 1st through December 31st, right? Marshall Fire was in December. The other big issue that I think is important to recognize is the transportation component, and that is associated with the threat of wildfire danger. That's why we advanced about $13 million to finish out the Southern Connector, make sure that Waterton was connected to Rampart Range Road. That is an increase in terms of ingress and egress, and the main priority there was to make sure that that area of Douglas County had greater access to thoroughfares to get out if necessary. So we're looking at that. I know additional road projects are planned for the future. And I think finally, you know, the water issue is deeply significant to us. That's why we formed our Douglas County Water Commission. We have members of that Water Commission here with us tonight. And part of that is we are developing a 2050 comprehensive master plan for water to make sure that we are very thoughtful about conservation, reclamation, and all of the issues that are significant to this community. But it's not something we just thought up this year. That is, boards prior to this one thinking for 20 plus years about water conservation. That's why we have Rooter Hess. That's 75,000 acre feet of wise water potential right there. But more to come. I think water, transportation, and fire, that I don't go to bed a single night and not think about those things as your county commissioner. So just want to make sure that you know we are thinking about that actively, and not just today, but every day for the last 8 years. So thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner.
I don't think I have any questions, Dan. I think you covered it very thoroughly. I think the one point you said, so the fields, the outdoor fields would be, at least proposed at this point, are artificial turf. The indoor buildings themselves, the showers, ice, whatnot, that would be included in the water district, correct?
Correct. A major component of the infrastructure that will be built will be the interconnection between this Zebulon facility and the Sterling Ranch community. Wholesale wastewater service will be provided by Dominion Water and Sanitation, and we are in a review with them now to determine tap sizes, number of fixtures, all of those details that will help inform how water and wastewater is served to that facility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for staff? All right, board. So let's get to our 4 motions that we do need to look to do for our 4 agenda items. Our first agenda item is a public contract for services for the Zebulon Regional Sports Complex Phase 1 programming and schematic design to KT Development in the amount of $2,700,000. That is our first item that we do have to decide on. I got to tell you, in all the public comment, I did not hear a single criticism of the plan put forward by KT Development. I mean, I didn't hear it. People were talking about all these other things, but I didn't hear anything talk about that plan. Therefore, board, what would we like to do with this agenda item?
Mr. Chair, I don't disagree with that, and if it does please the board, I'll make a motion to support a public contract for services for the Zebulon Regional Sports Complex, Phase 1 programming and schematic design to KT Development in the amount of $2,700,000 and 0 cents.
And just a point of process, Commissioner, is that a motion to approve the public contract?
A motion to approve, yes, sir.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion. And, this is where we really need to be as smart with the land as we are with the finances. And this is a financial piece. And in this contract, guaranteed maximum of $65 million. I think that was very wise to put into the contract to make sure that it shall not exceed that amount. And so I'm proud to second the motion.
Okay, well, I'm going to speak in favor of the motion. Again, I did not hear any direct criticism of the plan for KT Development. And quite frankly, I mean, I like this approach. We are engaging in a public-private partnership. And everywhere in the state, for the last 30 years that I've been here since I got out of the Army, public-private partnerships are supposed to be the goal. It's supposed to be what we're going for so that we don't bloat local government. So I speak in favor of the motion. Any further discussion? There is a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That public contract is approved. Our next item is an infrastructure acquisition agreement for regional sports complex with SR Construction LLC in the amount of $12,046,296.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. If it pleases the board, I move to approve the infrastructure acquisition agreement for regional sports complex with SR Construction LLC in the amount of $12,046,296.
And I'll second that motion.
I'll speak in favor of the motion. Again, I know that there were people who were critical of doing this project, and they wanted to talk about a lot of things. I did not hear anybody talk about this infrastructure plan. It went without comment. People wanted to talk about other infrastructure in the area that we kind of discussed after public comment with questions to staff. I did not hear a single element of criticism on this item. Further discussion.
Chair, are you going to keep order on this one?
Yeah. Let's have order, please. May I please ask for a county employee to... All right. Further, let's have order, please. Further discussion. There is a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And infrastructure acquisition agreement is approved. Our next item is an agreement to retain Stiefel as financial advisor in the amount of $137,500 for the purposes of building the financial plan for this project. How would the board like to take action?
Mr. Chair, if it does please the board, I'll make a motion to approve an agreement to retain Stifel as financial advisor in the amount of $137,500.
Second.
All right. Well, I will speak in favor of the motion. Stifel has obviously helped us out in the past. They are well respected in the region. I think this is a proper contract to engage in. Further discussion?
Well, Mr. Chair, I've been both in favor of COPs and against COPs, depending on how they're built, and this really seems to be a wise use of it. The building we're in today was actually paid for by this very same financing structure. We're not going to do what Parker did and mortgage our police department. That seems foolish. We're not going to mortgage our sheriff's department, nothing like that. But bringing Stifel on board to advise us financially to make sure that there are no mistakes, I think is wise, and that's what this does. Is it doesn't actually issue any COPs. That will be done perhaps at a later date, but it does bring Stifel Financial on to advise us in that area. So I think it's a wise choice.
Yeah, I mean, you bring out a really good point, and I was actually rather disappointed in Councilmember Dyack and his presentation, because what he didn't say, he said that they put the mortgage on the police station. He didn't say that they used the COP to finance their public works department. Okay, so we need snowplows, right? We need people out fixing roads. I get that. But the public works department doesn't inherently create revenue. It doesn't inherently do anything in terms of county finances other than act as what we called in business an expense center. What we're trying, and by the way, the county did it over 20 years ago with this very building. I know we've got building inspectors downstairs and they recover a fee, but I've never seen anything that has ever told me that what this building produced was enough to cover that debt service. And yet this is what this county did to build this very room. I think this is very different. Businesses do engage in debt when they build new stores, when they build new retail sales sites. I have yet to find a reputable financial advisor who would call that a bad thing to do, because it's a place that is building revenue being used to service debt. That's what we're trying to do with Zebulon. I heard everything everybody was trying to say, but nobody recognized the fact that this is going to be an area that is going to have cash flow. That's why we're doing this entire process, so that it's not a burden on the taxpayers of Douglas County. So no shade thrown at Mr. McNulty for saying it's like a mortgage on the house. It's really like, it's like taking a loan to build a store that is going to make money for the organization. That's my perspective on this, and that's why I do think this is the appropriate and responsible way to make use of COPs. There is a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agreement to retain Stifel as financial advisor is approved. Our final item for us tonight is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, Colorado, declaring the county's intent regarding reimbursements from a future issuance of certificates of participation. Board, how would we like to take action on this?
I move to approve that motion.
And I will second that motion.
I will speak in favor of the motion.
Me too.
I do think it's just smart. We're going to start work immediately. We are going to be spending money on this project, given the other agenda items that we have agreed to. If we're going to use COPs to do it, I think this covers us and make sure we can use the COPs for the full cost instead of bearing it out of the general fund. Further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just say, again, it's been a long evening, and I really appreciate the public debate on both sides. I think years from now, this is not going to be about tonight's debate. It's going to be about whether we created something that our kids could step into with pride, something that brought people together, built opportunity, and reflected the very best of Douglas County. So I do thank every single person that came tonight for your thoughts and opinions. And I want to say thank you to staff and to my colleagues. This is big work. This isn't easy stuff. This isn't sit in a room as a potted plant and pass things that are simple. This is hard. But 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, I think we'll look back and be very proud of what happened here. And I think the $1.3 billion in revenue that come back to our economy is going to be pretty great too.
Well, and if I could also speak, Mr. Chair, this is the whole process, and I also want to thank everyone that came out both for and against this. And I know hands were raised earlier, and it was overwhelming the number of people in support. I know that was moving for me because this has been a long time coming. We held our town hall last April on the subject, and even before that, there was a proposal for a very, very similar item. But really, it's the voters being very consistent in their messaging. First, the voters approved the Parks and Open Space tax by over 87% of the vote in 2022. And the message of that was incredibly clear. Preserve natural beauty, open space, and build better places for kids and families to play. Now, that first complex that was proposed, and that was before I became a county commissioner, I remember being and seeing a room just as full as this. But the room that night was almost entirely opposed. Not opposed to kids' sports or more fields, as we heard the last county baseball field diamond was 2004. That's too long to go without building new sports and rec for our kids here in Douglas County. But the message was very clear, and the room that night was very much opposed, almost unanimously. And it was very clear the message was right idea, wrong location. We heard that as a board, and when I became a member of this board, we changed the direction of that open space, that space. We preserved it, donated it to Highlands Ranch Community Association, the 202 acres, with the very strong agreement that it will be preserved as open space forevermore, with passive recreation, as in hiking paths. But still, even though that happened, there was still a need for more fields, soccer fields, baseball fields, ice, and the voters approved a tax to build just that. And so that brings us to where we are tonight, brings us to our town hall last April, and all the emails, all the phone calls, all the county input that we've heard well over for the past year. As our staff and as partners, private sector partners that are going to help fund this and ensure that it's a profitable venture, we're gathering to make sure that the agreement was wisely put together. We partnered tonight with a previous motion with KT Development, which, thank goodness, something that was very important to me as a commissioner is that we had a guaranteed maximum construction price, $65 million. We heard testimony from CEO of KT Development tonight that they are going to come in below that $65 million. And that to me was incredibly important. And just as important, I think, is that KT Development has a track record, not just here in Colorado, but across the nation, of building facilities like this that are self-sustaining. That's something very important to me. I don't want to partner with someone that has never done this before. It's their first time, and they think they can make it self-sustaining. We wanted someone with a track record of making it self-sustaining. With that, Mr. Chair, I think it is also important that we're not just building a sports complex, we're protecting our lifestyle and we're keeping our promises of open space. With these acres that we are dedicating to the sports complex itself, there are additional, and this was in the land swap, 85 acres of open space for wildlife, the out corridor, preserved for going forward. So 185 acres of open space to go along with this complex. And again, it's very important to me that there's a maximum construction price. It's very important to me that it's self-sustaining, and that it's very important to me that we are also supporting our open space and trails. And my thanks To the members of the Open Space Advisory Board that joined us tonight, my thanks to the members of the Parks Advisory Board that joined us tonight, and to the staff of Douglas County, and to our private sector partners who are putting millions of dollars of private sector investment into this. And so with that, I have become it's taken me more than a year, but very comfortable with the plan that is before us today. So my thanks, I'll end where I started, my thanks to the public for your tremendous input over not just tonight, the last several months, and actually the last several years.
Thank you, Commissioner. There is a motion and a second. Further discussion? All right. Well, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. All right. Let's get it done. I would say hold all applause to the end, but it is the end. We are adjourned.